Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with Maddy, the Autistic Rambler. Maddy is a non-binary autistic advocate engaged in political advocacy, a parent of 5, and a very funny person. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about, and we look forward to you joining the conversation. Now let's get to rambling. Recording will start soon. I think it's doing it again.
It's recording.
Okay, hang on. Let me just double check something because last time. Please stop doing that. Okay, so last time it chose the wrong microphone. So anyway, hello and welcome to Across the Desk, and we were not going to record today. So quite frankly, your host Elizabeth Plouffe is a bit grumpy, but Maddy, of course, had to start saying something smart, and I'm like, damn it. Here we are again.
Well, here we are again. Pleasure to be with you, and I always enjoy our conversations that bleed into podcasts.
All right. Well, for context on why Elizabeth is grumpy, just so you don't think it's, anything other than what it is, I was really fortunate to be invited to attend the Collision Conference in Toronto, which focuses on technology of all kinds and allows people in technology and technologies to connect and collide and all of that good stuff. But it was a bit of a grumpy making experience because whoever was the event planner is an asshat and did not, if you were somebody with a mobility issue, you would have been absolutely effed in this situation, because they had things so spread out and so weird. It was bizarro. So that made me a little cranky. And then, as one of my colleagues put it, it was like Survivor Island trying to get food. And I'm a pain in the butt to feed on a good day because I'm anaphylactic to tree nuts, can't digest dairy, can't have gluten. Otherwise I get hives and it causes issues. So yeah. And like conference food, carbs and dairy everywhere.
Yes, you have to roll out of there.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was super not fun. And I ended up with a big blister underneath what I thought were my comfy shoes, which I know. I mean, anyway, in the grand scheme, plus there were some stupid people. And I don't say that lightly. But if I can do a little PSA, public service announcement, if you are walking in a busy conference and you decide you just have to check your phone at that time, move the fuck over.
Yeah, move to the side. One side or the other, but hang there. Stopping in the middle is annoying. It's aggravating, and for people in wheelchairs, it's absolutely freaking dangerous. Like if I go into your legs, you won't be walking for a few days because I have metal things where my feet sit. I have yet to actually hit somebody, but every time I have to jerk to go down. Yeah, well, it's bound to happen in the. Yeah, I've only been in the wheelchair.
It's also painful for you.
Years. Oh yeah, because if I have to slam the brakes, it hurts my neck. Period. Like it hurts. Yeah. And
there's a reason you're in the chair.
A lot. So I'm saying, I'm adding to what Elizabeth's saying here. Please choose a side. Just if you're gonna stop and look at your thing, find a wall, move to the side. I always, with whoever I'm with, I always try to find a way of moving to the side. Even with myself, I'm in a wheelchair. It's a little bit hard to get around, and I find a wall,
or I find a pole, or I find something.
I don't like people walking into me, so I try to find a way so I'm not going to be in as much space. It's just
consider it. Like the whole day was spent. I mean, I got to be honest with you. We started out with one topic. I think what we're going to merge into is personal space because I spent 2.5 years. So I'm an introvert by nature, believe it or not. I'm actually an ambivert, but from an introvert extrovert perspective, I have very good extrovert social tendencies. I really enjoy people. I love having conversations, but by and large, people annoy me. And I would rather, I'm really good at spending days alone.
Yeah.
It takes about like 4 days for me to miss my family if they're all gone at the same time, because I'd be it's quiet.
Yeah, the way I would
Yeah.
describe you is that, like my oldest daughter feels this way. She hates people but likes persons. There are some persons that she likes, but most
Yes.
people drive her absolutely insane.
I'm very lucky to have an extensive network of great persons.
Mhm.
People en masse, such as at a conference, make me crackers in the head because we just came out of a 2-year farking pandemic and personal space has gone out the window.
Yeah,
And I have always been, this is my dance space. This is your dance space. If I don't know you, don't touch me. Don't come near me. It freaks me out. Like, don't do it. I'm not autistic, but I have
yeah.
some issues,
Personal space, the final frontier. These are the
right?
voyages of the autistic Rambler and Elizabeth Poof.
And do not boldly go. Get the fuck out of my space. So I
The
ended up in this,
neutral zone exists for a reason.
yes, buffer, buffer, people. It's a buffer. Leave a car length
Yeah,
between me and you.
yes. We don't want any Klingon.
We do not
We want,
know. And no,
we want you to cling off.
thing off. Like that might become the new F off right now. So I go into this one session and they had a lot of great sessions. The challenge with this conference as well is that everybody's all hot in the panties about chat GPT and AI and whatever. And obviously the organizers did not use a matrix of some kind because even the speakers today. So again, I'm live streaming from Collision today. My next session's around 2, so I'll be jumping on for that. Even the speakers are now making fun of the fact that, so it's another talk on AI. So I go into this meeting and it was about something to do with the MVP process. So for yes, it's most valuable player, but in technology development, it's minimum viable product.
Yeah.
And we are, NanoWorks,
Yeah.
Spiro Careers Canada, we're at a point now where we're past MVP. We now have a product that's gone to market. We're doing some fine tuning, but I'm still interested in, processes and whatever. So no chairs available. I'm like, okie dokie. So I back up against the back wall because there's a little ledge that I can rest my backpack on.
Mm-hmm.
Group of men walk in front of me and stop directly in front of me. I'm like, I know I'm white, but I do not blend with the wall that much. And I am not wearing camouflage. I have a black shirt on. I have some contrast. You would all have to be blind to not see that I'm standing here. I have to say, excuse me, for them to GTFO out of my space so I can actually see. 3 more people do that where they think it's appropriate to come and stand. There's plenty of room, by the way. I'm not, taking a key spot here. I'm at the back of the room, backed against a wall. 3 different people in one session either come like right up next to me in my dance circle. And I'm like, there's nowhere else you could have gone. Or you couldn't maintain a minimum of like 8 inches so that you are not touching me in any way. And everybody was just like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I'm like, pandemic, folks.
Yeah.
Like we are all coming like,
Duh. This is I really love chatting with you about neurodistinct challenges, that we share. Because it's really the whole concept of personal space and just being able to exist in an area on your own is such it is not the thinking of the majority of neurotypical folks. It boggles my mind why people don't look around their environment to see, can they be disturbing anybody? Because there are some autistics that I know that are have no concept of personal space themselves, and so they can become one of these obstacles to surviving.
Well, it's more like an obstacle to me whether I'm going to murder you or not, because
it's the groups. It's the groups of neurotypical. Yeah, it's the groups of neurotypical, and generally, I have found, that neurotypical women, they group together, but they move around as they're grouping. Right, they are not usually stuck in one place unless they're all sitting down someplace. Right, whereas men will just stand there for hours. oblivious to anybody, and they are not attuned to anything but male voices. And this is something I've realized, that certain people have a bandwidth of sounds that they're used to and comfortable with uh, communicating with, and things outside of those comfort frequencies, they either tune completely out or they get aggravated by. And for me, I tune into the female voice, the typical female spectrum,
Mhm.
and kids, especially. I can handle the
Yeah, I would
sound of
agree with that.
a thousand kids, or maybe 5 to 10 women. But any mixture of, you start adding men into the mix or increasing the amount of women, my brain goes crazy. I can't, if there's a male speaker and he talks like this and he doesn't have things on the screen, or any animations or any pictures,
No
and he's
inflection.
just got a voice like this, and I will tune out. I'm not going to hear anything. It doesn't matter what's on the screen. I can't read it because the voice is sort of most men don't, they speak in a very small range,
Mhm.
and they're not animated, and they're not
Well, that's not so much a range thing. That's an inflection thing, right? So
yes,
it's
yes, good
inflection versus
speakers. Yeah,
monotone. Yeah.
yeah, good speakers know that they need to increase the range to keep the intention going. So the really, the male speakers that do well are those that get out of that
Yeah.
inflection zone. Whereas, like, I have a hard time when I'm in meetings where a male's leading it. But you put a few males together, and trying to get interject in there is really difficult. And I can't do it anymore because my damn voice, like this here is pretty well the loudest I can get. I can inflect a little bit. That's it. Otherwise, I lose
Well,
my
that's,
voice
that's not
completely.
inflect. That's volume, right? So what's interesting is that there was two speakers the entire day that I would consider engaging because they were really funny. Like this one guy, Pierre Volgin, I think is the name. He's from the Netherlands. And he was on a panel and it was about value streaming something. Again, it was a little out of my um but he was funny and he was making like T-Rex jokes and whatever. And I'm like, I will listen more because you're being more authentically yourself and not sticking to your message. And there was another speaker,
Yeah.
Linda Lee, and she was in the DEI session,
Mhm.
and she was quite engaging and authentic. And so, what was interesting with Linda Lee is she presents the way I present, which is authentically enthusiastic, big body movements, and engaging with the audience and looking at the audience and asking questions and all those other kinds of things because that's how I talk. And I'll clarify my murder statement previously is that I do like people. I
Yeah,
engage with a ton of people. Crowds, however,
yeah,
make me very uncomfortable. They always have. It's just there's too many, and this is going to be a little bit of a disclosure. So I grew up with quite a lot of trauma in my situation. And what that does, and I'm also the child of an alcoholic and whatever. So what that does is it builds in um, a high perception of threat. So it's just part of my being. I can't undo it. I work around it. But what it can do is provoke high levels of anxiety. So if I'm in a situation where I'm in a crowd and it's a lot of people I don't know, such as collision, and then a lot of people are sort of standing in groups and blocking spaces and being inconsiderate and are kind of breaking the, rules and all of this. And that just then starts triggering me. And I don't use trigger lightly. I mean, it literally starts triggering me. And then I start scanning for threat the minute I go into any kind of situation, and I'm scanning for exits. And it's just the way my brain is hardwired because of past history. So situations like this, I have to work really hard to overcome to get the benefit and not backslide into that. And I've actually never really shared that with anybody, that that's what happens to me. If I'm with a group of people I know, I'm good to go because I've experienced you before. I tend to know what to expect. And depending on the situation, it's unlikely there's going to be any kind of, volatile behavior or whatever. And so I do okay. Group of 10,000 of my closest strangers. Oh my God. That's just like threat overload for me. That was one of the reasons, honestly, I was hesitant to go to Pride in Toronto and wanted to go to Pride in Halton. I was really worried there was going to be an event at the Toronto Pride. I was, from a threat perspective, I was like, what are the chances of somebody doing something stupid? And I just, I'm good. I love the gay community. Maddy and I had a fantastic, our Pride event, our personal Pride.
Yeah. It
was a great day. The weather didn't cooperate. I wasn't able to go to Halton Pride Fest. It was not accessible for Maddy, so that didn't make sense. So we spent Saturday, 4 or 5 hours tootling around Bronny, hanging out in El Spiro, having our Pride situation. And it was nice because a gay couple, lesbian couple walked by, saw our shirts, and they're like, "Happy Pride!" I'm like, "You too!"
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
But yeah, so that for me, Collision just reintroduced me what I didn't do. And I wonder how many of our neurodivergent friends forget or make effort to do. I didn't ground myself before I went in.
Yeah.
I didn't make effort to ground myself while I was there.
Yeah.
So the anxiety just kind of continued, and it wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. So I was tense, but I was not debilitated.
Yeah. You're surviving instead of living.
No, but honestly, yes and no. So I honestly, upon reflection, certainly, I mean, I was in Toronto, for God's sakes. It's not like there wasn't a bathroom 5 feet away. And there was food. I just object to paying $9 for a coffee. And I object to paying $18.50 for a fairly crappy chicken Caesar salad and $12 for a juice, which was only 12 ounces.
Yeah. Just read something this morning that talked about we're willing to pay, 50 cents in one place for water, $1 in another place, $3, $5, $6. And so we need to.
I was not a willing participant in any of this. There was no willingness. There was no, you weren't allowed to bring in your own food. And they were inspecting, and I had a little backpack, but you were I should have brought snacks. I did not.
One of the great, one of the few perks of being in a wheelchair is that
the storage.
they're I say I need food, and most of the time I cannot eat anywhere. I have to bring food with me. I rarely get an argument. Even bringing my own water in is something that other people would get. And I say, listen, I need to drink water all the time. I'll refill it when it's empty, but I will go through this here in the next hour and another 2 or 3 of them while I'm here.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of events, they are so firm about these things. And I, and whoever I bring with me, they're the one, they actually have to, deal with that.
Give you a hand.
It is one of the few things that I am very much relieved and will use what I call the crypt card, because
my mother called it the GIMP. What did she call it? And I'm not being whatever. This is legit. My mother's.
Yeah.
My mom had a cane and a walker and a whole whatever, and she would call it the GIMP factor.
Yep. That is what I used to call it too when I was initially having disabilities, and we moved away from that to that. Words change, but when we who are disabled use it, we are allowed to. It's not ableism, because we're we're reclaiming it for ourselves. It's not a word that people outside of the community can use. And there's some words that just cannot be redeemed. There's some that really need to be set in the waste
Retired.
pile of, yep. But that's
There
not
was
the
one I
topic of our
used on
conversation.
Saturday, which I
Yeah,
never ever.
I know you did, and I didn't call you on it, but it
No,
definitely,
and I never used that word, and I was
I
just
know.
like, and it's an R word. And I was like, I wonder why I used that. Like that was weird because
Yeah,
I don't use that word, and I actually call other people on it.
yeah, there was a context to it, but it still didn't need to get used. I
Yeah,
just like wiped it out of my vocabulary.
it was weird, but I thought
Yeah,
about it after, and I was like, I wonder, like that doesn't make sense because that's not a word I
yeah,
use, and I
yeah.
actually object with other people. So why would I? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
Freudian
see.
slip.
There are some people when I feel there's um an accidental ignorant use of a word, I will call them on it. If there's an intentional use of the word, I'll call them on it. If it's purely accidental and not like it, or it may have fit the situation but still shouldn't have been used, I may let it slide the first time. But and I feel that that use was, there was a context to it. It still shouldn't have been used, but
Yeah.
it was, you didn't use it again. You didn't, and no other context fit it. So it's like, But I'm glad you mentioned it because it anytime that word's used, it really hurts. It hurts because I was called that as a kid all the time. One of my kids has been was called out a lot, and yeah, it's just a word that just can't be reclaimed. There's no value in using it. There's no historical purpose of using it because there's other words that can
Mm.
describe the same thing. However, saying all that, in French, the
It's
word,
how they.
yeah, the word has so many more context to it that it's if a French speaker said it, I would have a different approach of trying to mention the effect that it has in English. But really,
Yeah.
there's so many uses of the word in French that it's hard to like.
Well, there is in English too. That's the challenge, though, is that the word itself is not the
Yeah.
problem. It's the meaning behind the word
Oh yeah. Yeah.
when certain people, right? So it's like George
Yeah.
Carlin said, he
Yeah.
lists if you've never looked it up, George Carlin does this great bit, and it's on YouTube
Yeah.
about words.
Yeah.
And he points out that the words themselves are not the problem. It's the people using it who weaponize it and
Yeah.
use it to harm others. So the word I used was retarded. And I think I was describing myself actually.
You were. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you look at the definition of retarded, it actually just means lack of growth, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Regret. Yeah.
slow growth.
Regressed is another word. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving
So,
backwards, getting
yep,
slower.
yep.
In French, it also means slow. Slower. It's a slow
Retarded.
down.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's how it's used. So when it's
Mhm.
used to inflict harm, right? This podcast has no theme today. It's stuff. It is just endless rambling of weird shit. What we started out with was
We haven't even
during one
got
of
to
the
what
talks,
we haven't even gotten to the point that we were starting with.
right? Exactly. So that
Oh,
R
I love
word
this.
might actually be appropriate in this moment because so attended this great talk. While I was at this great talk at Collision, which we did start talking about,
Uh-huh.
we use a tool called Google Chat, and it allows us to collect information, share information, set up tasks, whatever. And these particular speakers, who I should look up and share because they were great, talked about DEI, but from a way different viewpoint than I had ever experienced before. And I am attending a lot of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion seminars right now because I'm interested to see how many of them miss the point on accessibility and miss the point on talking about invisible disabilities and miss the point of, truly being inclusive and what have you. This one came at it a little differently. It came at it from the structure around DEI and what gets in the way of successful DEI. Like it didn't go into the nitty-gritty side of who's impacted by DEI. It got into what gets in the way of successfully implementing DEI in a variety of ways. So what we actually started talking about before I reluctantly pressed record, because I got to tell you, we were not going to talk today, was about belonging.
Yeah.
And belonging equaling safety in some capacities. So, collision, for an example, for me as a woman tech founder, provided an opportunity to find a bit of a tribe, right? Because there's not a lot of, if you look at the entrepreneurship community, less than 10% of the world's population are entrepreneurs. Less than 2% of that are women, and then less than 1% of those women are technology founders. So while being a unicorn has its privileges, it's hard to find other women founders who understand what it's like to work in the tech space and yada, yada, yada. So that was one of the reasons I went to Collision. That caused me stress because I couldn't get to the sessions on women founders because it was such a non-inclusively laid out event that you were just running. I mean, I ended up with a massive blister under my left, like the ball of my foot, because you're just having to, and I wore like conference appropriate footwear. And I was just thinking to myself while I was there, I'm like, if I truly had any kind of mobility issue, I would have been screwed. Like I would have missed so much. So we started talking about belonging.
Yeah.
Language is a part of belonging.
Yeah.
So we actually can tie these together. And then what I worried about at the end of Collision Day was I didn't share with the colleagues that I went to how much stress events like that can cause me. And I haven't had to do an event like that with such a crush of people. And you made a really valid point, which is completely true, is that women, for the most part, move over to the side, are generally more aware of their surroundings and whatever. Men, you're not. And I made that comment to say, why is it that men just park wherever they want, block the area, do not give two shits nor a duck about how that's impacting anybody else? And then other folks don't say anything, so that behavior perpetuates and whatever.
Yeah.
And if I were a single woman walking towards that crowd of men and I had to get through them, for me, wouldn't bother me. I'd be like, get the fuck out of the way. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But how many women would be barred? Right?
Yeah.
How does that kind of unawareness and that lack of perception and lack of understanding of social grace, how does that create barriers to belonging?
Yeah.
Because tech is such a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was sort of like, I mean, we've covered like 7 different things in 20 minutes, which is pretty good.
Yeah. The topic that you had put down in our chat was belonging creates safety. And when I looked at that, my first thought was actually full inclusion, which, belonging is part of inclusion, but there's so much more to inclusion than just belonging. It's only the full inclusion that creates safety. And one of the challenges that I've seen, and I do another podcast, Above and Beyond. The Facebook Live every Monday at 5 if you want to watch it on Facebook or YouTube. But we talk about accessibility and inclusion. And if you don't have accessibility in the mindset of your diversity, equity, and inclusion, you aren't any one of those. And it's like a lot of people, a lot of groups, a lot of organizations think that accessibility is part of inclusion. It's not. It's its own thing, because inclusion is a different thing. If you don't have accessibility and you don't have accommodations, you can't have inclusion. If you don't have inclusion, you can't have equity. If you don't have equity, you're obviously not diverse. But accessibility is its own thing, and it crosses all those three. And it's a challenge to get people to realize that. So this conference that you're at, as it checked off the diversity box, because it probably invited lots of different types of people and said, hey, we have a place that's diverse. But you were challenged with inclusion, because you could not you were not accommodated to be able to get to the things that you needed to get to. Um, you weren't able to fully participate, and
There was a
include
real lack of
yes.
women focused, from my perception anyway. You're fuzzy, by the way. Your camera's gone loopy.
Oh,
Um,
loopity. Well, they can't see me, so it doesn't really matter.
hey, I could put up the video and you wouldn't know because I look
Yeah.
okay today, and background's
Oh
good.
well, there you go.
There was a real challenge this year. Like it's that whole jumping on the train thing, right? So Collision
Yeah,
jumped hard on the AI chat GPT train. And really, from my perspective anyway, like there was a women in tech lounge, for an example, and there was men in it. Like
yeah,
the whole
yeah,
effing conference is yours to like get out. I
yeah,
don't want to be inclusive in this instance. I would like to be in a space where men aren't spread. One guy came into the women in tech lounge, I kid you not, with his farking scooter. And I'm not talking like a mobility scooter because he had a broken leg. I'm talking vroom vroom scooter because he needed a place to plug it in, and then just proceeded to bother every table in the area to find out if there was a plug for his. Who brings a scooter into a conference, first and foremost? And it
yeah,
wasn't a mobility tool. It wasn't it was just some dude came in on his scooter. And I was like, this is supposed to be an area where women founders, women in technology can sit and chat. And then what made you think it was a good idea to bring your scooter in and then go around disrupting conversations and whatever to solve your issue?
yeah,
There was a lot of odd behavior. To segue back to the belonging and the inclusion, when we started talking about my Saturday faux pas, that's another thing to consider around inadvertently creating exclusion or creating a feeling of, not safety,
yeah,
is the language choices that we make. Um, there's just so many different ways to approach it. And that's what I appreciated about these ladies, is that it got me thinking, which is what Collision's all
yeah,
about different mindsets, about different considerations, and what not having those can create, right? When you look at
yeah,
confirmation bias and groupthink and whatever, if you get a group of people together and nobody corrects the individual using the retarded word,
yeah.
what does that do?
It creates a toxic environment that it lets other people realize that they don't need to be more careful of their words, and that lets it affects their thinking, which then affects their doing. You know,
Mhm.
language changes thoughts, and thoughts change actions, and it's so when this is one of the biggest problems that we've had in our society over the last 6 years, and the problem existed before Trump, but Trump
Oh, that little
created a
cockroach.
platform that allowed people to let go of some of the things that they've been taught over the last 10 years of language choices, when they
Mhm.
realize that, hey, the president can say all of these things and keep
Exactly.
all of his power. Why do we need to be careful of what we
At the
say?
plebeian
And
level,
yes,
yes.
and this has regressed our society,
It has regressed. Okay, so yes, and
our society
yes,
as a
and
whole.
yes.
Not particularly, but it has created this. It is harder
The
now to
cockroaches
have
came out from under the
safe.
rocks.
Yeah, yeah. They've always been there. They've always been there, but they have felt silenced, and now they are entitled.
Well, so when we had Barack Obama, and I don't care who you are, I think
Yeah,
he's just the biscuit. From my
yeah,
perspective, I'm not politically aware around policy and what have you, but at
yeah,
no point in the 8 years that he was president did I
yeah,
feel unsafe for our country, our North American
yeah,
country. At
yeah,
no point in his 8 years as a president did I feel unsafe traveling to the
yeah,
US.
yeah,
But the year after Trump was elected, I had to travel to Florida for a trade show, and I was petrified.
Yep.
And these guys came up to me at the conference and they said, so, hey, you seem somebody that we could talk to and you won't get offended and, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it was good. It was very good. And I said,
Yeah.
well, for the most part, let's just see how this goes. And they said, why are women so uptight right now? It was basically the
Yeah.
gist of the conversation. And I went, okay. I said, here's what I can tell you. I said, for the first time in my life as an adult woman, I was uncomfortable traveling to your country on my own. And they were like, well, why? And I said, because your president has said it's okay for any man in here to grab me by the hoo-ha and I can do nothing about it.
Yeah.
He has taken the Band-Aid off any kind of, social, like all the progress that we made around it is not okay to touch a woman anywhere without permission. It is not okay to intimidate through any kind of means to get what you want. It is not okay to corner somebody in an elevator and be aggressive and say there's nothing you can do about it because I can grab you by the whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so anybody in this trade show who believes what that clown has to say, they are now a threat to me.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't vote for him. And I'm like, which is great, but enough of your fellow countrymen did.
Yeah.
And now you have this clown dictating and saying this kind of behavior is okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I wonder about at Collision.
Yeah.
Sorry, the first group of men that gathered, then other men saw that it was okay to just stop and gather.
Yeah.
And block. So is that, if we don't allow that to happen, would it have happened?
Yeah.
I hate Trump, by the way, in case you didn't pick that up.
As do I. I think that one of the things we can take from this is that, like, you're in a group of men that were wondering, why are all men being treated this way by women? Why are women? Well, okay, when you can use this in any industry, any field, any group, any organization, when you have one or two individuals who do things so inanely wrong, it brings it casts aspersions on everyone else. And we see this with police, and the ACAB, all cops are bad, and the whole defund the police. There is, because we're seeing so many individuals who are just absolutely horrible
vile little orange kumquats.
That's so there's a justifiable, because there's enough of a pattern in a particular group that it makes it hard to see any positives on anybody else. It's by association, right? And it's as humans.
Sorry,
So
go ahead. As humans.
So like it's harder for us to be comfortable with people when you have the example, a strong example that's not dealt with properly. That's not, if an organization completely went at the one or two individuals that were making it bad and being very clear about it, then you can get back. Have Republicans ever done anything to, as a whole, as leadership, to address the at least at one area of Trump's absolutely clear, he said and did this, and his attitudes have been recorded like this? Have we seen anybody really try to do that?
They tried. And so post the January 6th insurrection, there were members of the Republican Party, and we're not getting into a political debate, but this is going to go back to that. It's going to come back. I promise you. Come along with us for a ride for a second.
Come along.
That's a Charlie and Chocolate Factory song. But anyway, come with me and we'll see. So there were people within the Republican Party who felt that they belonged to a group that gave them enough safety to call Trump out on his thing. They thought that they had enough in their corner to criticize and condemn. And the majority of them got drummed out because, unfortunately, the other parts of the party had more belonging and more, they felt safer belonging to the group that did nothing and allowed that mangled apricot of a shithole to, I'm sorry, we don't normally cuss on the thing, but he just evokes such a limbic, visceral.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
There's going to be a lot of beeping. Well, I'm not going to beep out crap. So this was the two sides of belonging and safety, right? So you have this one side who wants to do the right thing and feel that they have enough of a presence and belonging to be able to safely move forward and openly criticize and make action happen in a positive way and what have you. However, belonging can also create a different kind of safety, which is what we're, can tie this into, in that now we are condoning poor behavior. And there's enough wackadoodles out there who believe that that bugwump is doing something right. Right. So belonging and safety can contribute to positive change, but it can also undermine that and contribute to the resurgence, for an example, of using the word that we were discussing in everyday, right?
Yeah.
This is where it comes back to that perception of threat. And one would hope that in belonging and safety, and I wonder if this is what okay, I had a thought. What if belonging and safety minus inclusion equals belonging plus inclusion equals safety in a positive way? Because you can have belonging that creates safety for bad behavior. But if you have belonging and inclusion, that means you now have, because belonging, here we go. All right, hang on. Because we've talked about this before. And I think you know where I'm going. Belonging can contribute to groupthink, which is safety to confirm your biases, right? So if your bias is towards negative things and you have enough belonging, then you feel safe in your biases because you have a homogenous group belonging that are just reconfirming these negative biases. But if you have inclusion, now you have a much broader spectrum of people involved and less likely to have groupthink confirmation.
And that's why I said you can't have inclusion brings the safety. And when you're safe, inclusion means that everybody's accommodated, and the attitudes are also, it's acceptance, it's attitude, it's accommodations, and that those things bring the broader belonging and the safety. Like you can belong to a small part of a large group, if there's inclusion, because if you can only be part of if not everybody's safety if not everybody is safe, there is no inclusion. So that's why I said, like, when I saw this, belonging is part of inclusion. But it's not the thing itself. Belonging doesn't actually lead to security.
Well, that depends on how you perceive security, because for an example, if we go back to the mangled apricots example, for the individuals, right, who could have spoken out against the insurrection or who chose to be silent little nimwits, there was safety and belonging in that they felt safer belonging to the group of nimwits who said nothing and in absence condoned what happened than they did being included in the group who spoke out against.
Yeah, but included and inclusion are two different things. Included can be
I appreciate
individual.
that, but that's
inclusion
an educated distinction. Yeah.
Well, since I'm not educated, I'm self-educated.
No, but that's why it is. It's exactly why, because you are educated in what inclusion should truly mean. So they are not.
My job is to educate people on what inclusion actually means. And I've said this. It drives me insane
bonkers
when she absolutely it screamed my all of my nethers.
It's what you're who?
It screws my nethers.
Screws my nethers. Well, is that
Yeah,
a
yeah.
like a punch in the wee wee? We're gonna have to edit that
No,
part.
okay. Well, only because of what you just said, you silly
Well,
person.
that's what it means. Screws my nethers. I like that. All right, continue.
Okay, all right, okay. Oh, what was I saying? Okay, so
You threw me off.
what was I saying? You threw me off. I was talking, and
You brought up your nethers. I didn't.
the moment I said it, I was waiting. Oh, you're gonna react. You're gonna react, and then you reacted, and then I forgot what I was saying. So,
Unpredictable.
oh yeah,
So you
okay,
created
okay.
the situation.
In the various people involved in the Ontario education system
Oh
keep
lordy.
saying that the Ontario education system is an inclusive environment, and they have no idea what inclusion means. What they're thinking that if everybody's, if everybody's part of it, it's inclusion. No,
Yep.
what we have is integrated. We have an integrated environment because people, all the kids are in this, can be in the same class. But if they're not accommodated, there's no inclusion, and without inclusion, they're excluded from things, and when they're excluded, they can easily go back to being segregated, which is the system we grew up with, and it's
Yeah.
just horrible. But we do inclusion means accommodation, acceptance. It means that everybody is accommodated. Without
Yep.
that, you don't have inclusion, and when you don't have inclusion, then we have all of these subsets of belonging and subsets of safety.
Yeah.
But those safety, certain groups override the safety of other groups, and that's what we're experiencing in the Ontario education system. It's also what you experienced at this conference. You, as a woman,
Yeah.
did not have you did not have inclusion, and therefore it was not equitable.
So yes, and
There's always an and a but.
well, because
As long as there's no twerking.
um
I worked in my wheelchair the other day. I was at the Pride thing. I was like, I went back and forth. It's like, this is how I twerk in a wheelchair. And then I had a group of guys like, woo! It was fun.
Here was the challenge, where the way you experience an event, regardless of what that is, can color your ability to have an inclusive situation. Because of the stress I had going in, and because of the challenges I have around crowds of people I don't know, I am sure that there were more opportunities for women in tech than I found. Because there is a whole section in the streams dedicated to that. Plus, I wanted to hang out with the ladies that I had gone with, and of course, they're further along than me on the tech journey, so they didn't feel the need to, search those particular topics out. So we did divide up. Like, we didn't stick together like a little bathroom posse, right? Like, we did go to different talks than each other and what have you. But I think there were a lot of variables that colored my experience, that had I chosen to go on day 2 in person, I would have done differently, right? So it's also that Collision hasn't been around for the past 2 years. I've gone twice and had a completely different experience than I had this time. A lot of things influenced my feeling of belonging and safety within this conference. Part of it was post-pandemic. It was the first crush of people. It was not how it was set up before. So that was new things to kind of figure out why they had set it up the way they had, which, by the way, Collision, if you ever listen, don't do that again. So I think that's part of it too, is that we have to remember what people are bringing to the experience when we look at belonging and safety, whether it is language choices, whether it is group choices, whether it is, choosing to support a not great idea, or choosing to stand in the group that are standing against it. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes to the table on that. Fundamentally, what these ladies were talking about is what I found interesting, which was at its base. So not getting into the distinction between belonging, needing inclusion, and what have you, it was how many of us prefer to belong than not, right? And that seeking a way of belonging is something that organizations, because theirs was from an organizational lens, need to work on. Now, that's where the inclusion lens needs to get laid over top of that, because organizations or events like Collision inadvertently create situations where belonging is made impossible because of a lack of attention paid to inclusion.
Yeah.
And again, whether that's around language choices, whether that's around event setup, whether that's around how the office space is designed, whether that's, not looking at accommodations, there's many different ways to look at it. We have to wrap up because I have to hop on my 2:00 virtual so I can go home and bake cookies.
All right then.
But yeah,
Yes.
so if
you
you hung
leave,
out,
you gotta leave. You gotta leave your cookie to go make cookies. I get it.
I didn't get that one, but that's okay. I did discover something on Saturday that if I don't encourage Maddy with the first couple of puns, they will give up.
She never stopped, so I never gave up.
That was the problem. So now I know the secret sauce.
You'll never remember it. It's yeah.
Well, 99% of the time they land really well. So why would I stop? Because they're super good.
Did you say you had to go home and make some cookies?
Oh no, I have to jump on a session at Collision, and then I'm going to go home and make cookies.
That's what I said. You got to leave one cookie to make some more. I'm the cookie.
Oh, now all right. Did I call you?
You call me cookie all the time. You're okay. So it's yeah. Now that you get it, you realize, it should have hit.
It really was good. This is what I'm saying. That's what I said on Saturday, is that 99% of the time. What was funny is that there was a couple of clunkers in the punny fun, and Maddy was almost like, what's going on? She's not laughing. And I'm like, it wasn't good. It just, that one didn't land.
Yeah, no, the reason I'm as successful as I am is because I try and do a lot more things. And in my life and in my puns, I try a lot of things, and some of them work great, and some of them are big doo-doo piles. But I learn from them, and so I just I learned how to avoid doing the doo-doo.
Speaking of doo-doo piles, looks like Trump's going to go to jail, so yay! But
yes,
I hope he gets piled in the doo-doo.
Orange is the new black. The Trump edition.
I hope wouldn't that be hysterical? I would love to see the first shot of him in prison in his jumpsuit with no of that pancake shit he puts on his face. I'm like, who he thinks he's fooling is beyond me.
Oh my God. Yeah, but it's exactly how he does.
He's going to belong to a whole new group of friends who, trust me, do not have his safety.
A fantastic place.
He's going to have to play safe in the shower is what he's going to have to do.
Stay away from the soap.
If the soap drops, it's not meant to be cleaned.
Exactly.
It's not your day. Try tomorrow.
Exactly. Unless you're into that sort of thing, and then it's okay.
Unless what?
Unless you're into that sort of thing, and then it's okay. Remember, consent is the importance.
Consent is key, and I hope he objects vociferously every time the soap slips away. I know. And if you're objecting to our podcast, this is not the group for you to belong to, because it is not safe here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
So yeah, our point, rambling as it was, and which I think we should probably pick up again in a more structured way, was about understanding how belonging can create safety, but there are still barriers if it's not inclusive belonging. And to take a look at the lens of how you're approaching a situation, which could increase or decrease the ability to belong, right? That's
Yeah.
reflecting on my experience at this conference. Definitely my life experience made it more challenging to participate well. And then understanding, and you made a integrated versus inclusion. Having people in a situation is integration. If they can't experience the situation, then that's not inclusion. That's just integration. And that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you look back at when integration was considered a massive thing, right? So if we look back into the 60s, 50s and 60s, when Black and white schools were being integrated, now that you've said that, they weren't including, there was no inclusion there because they still faced so much threat to go into the school. They were integrating versus including, which is an important distinction that I don't think anybody in history has actually ever made. The last part of this is some reminders on event etiquette, which sort of prompted the initial rant, which is be aware of your surroundings. Keep an eye out, especially if you have folks that are there who have intersectionalities like Maddy, who has to experience the world from, looking at everybody's butt. Get yours out of the way. Like, don't stop. I had so many people just stop dead in front of me because they had to look at their phone at that exact moment. And I felt like just starting to run into them because it's like your immediacy of your phone does not allow you to just be rude. Anyway.
Yeah.
If
My life is a video game and I did that, every time I hit somebody, ba-ding, 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 2 points, ba-ding,
right?
2 points,
It would be like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. 3 in a row.
Which I've never played.
Bonus, +3 bonus. You've leveled up. Now I can pip my wheelchair.
You'd be like Free Guy with the glasses on, right? Like,
yes, exactly. All right. Yeah. Looking forward to that. In my mind, actually, what I do. Okay, so last little thing, but it's based on this.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people are not getting out of my way, and I'm like, hello, please, hello, and they see me and they move, said, oh, that's good, because otherwise I would have got 2 points, and they usually laugh.
We should get you a sound machine.
Yes, we should.
That like plays, a machine gun or some kind of sound that breaks into their wall of silence. It's like everybody's walking around in their own fortress of solitude. That is their phone. Yeah. And you need some kind of noise machine to break through that. Like, to your point about the different registers and tuning out people's voices and whatever.
I need to airdrop them a sign that says, please move out of the freaking way.
Something. You know what we could do? We could take Deadpool, maximum effort, when he says maximum effort and then he jumps, and put that on a loop. And then on your phone, and you just crank it and just keep playing maximum effort, and then maybe they'll get out of the way or something.
Yeah.
We'll have to think about that. I'm sure there's an app in there somewhere.
I'm sure there is. If not, Ryan Reynolds will buy a company that will develop it.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
What's that?
I said bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on Across the Desk and our new series, The Autistic Rambler. Please visit spirocareerscanada.ca to learn more about the tools we're building with the autism community, and please visit theautisticrambler.com to learn more about Maddy Dever.